Welcome to the Y Connect podcast. As the heartbeat of the community, the Y is a connector where people of all ages and walks of life come together to elevate their health, wellness, education, and essential life skills. Hear the stories of impact and join the authentic conversations where together we'll discover the journeys and pathways people take to connect through the Y. Now your hosts, Zarina, Robert, and Allison.
Friends, hi, hello. Welcome back.
How are we?
It's been a little while.
It has.
It really has. Everybody's doing well?
How have you guys been?
Doing well.
All
Robert.
is well.
Excellent.
All is well.
Excellent.
Hey, I saw Zarina on your Instagram page. You were working out, like really working out. You were doing some serious workout.
Absolutely.
With weights. I am impressed.
Weights, squats. Thank you. I've been pretty consistent for the past 3 months. I hired a personal trainer because I have some personal goals, and it's going well.
That's
Nice.
fabulous.
I'm seeing some results.
I think the last time we spoke, you said you
Oh,
were
yeah.
fast. Are you done with fast?
I'm done with the fast,
Okay.
but I'm carrying over some of those good habits, though.
That's excellent.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
Robert,
I'm
are
feeling
you
great.
enjoying your new gig at
I am.
Have you officially moved over to the Andrew and Walter Young Y?
I am literally in the conference room of Eastlake right now.
Okay, so no, you have not.
I thought it made more sense to come back here due to the renovation, so I wouldn't have
Got it.
I wouldn't be
Oh, that's
serenaded
smart.
by drills and
Oh, yeah.
hammers, and so I thought it made
Yeah.
sense to come back over here at least for today.
We have an
Probably going
exciting
right back as
renovation
soon as we
taking
finish.
place over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good.
lots.
Yeah. Great things are happening at Andrew Young. Great things are happening.
Very
Do you
nice.
know what
Very
the
exciting.
renovation is encompassing? Like the projects that are involved in that renovation?
Yeah. Transitioning the studio where I used to teach into childcare.
Okay.
Revamping and remodeling the pool area. So these are the current ones that are going on right now.
Wow.
Right.
The next phase will be the upstairs weight room area, building another studio, expanding the parking lot, expanding the entire infrastructure.
Wow.
Actually,
Nice.
Montiel and I will be losing our offices,
Oh,
if not this week, possibly next week, so
Okay.
they can revamp that part of the upstairs. So yeah, there's a lot going on right now. A lot going on.
nice.
And we also have something going on with the gym. So we're going to be remodeling the gym.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks to the Hawks. They'll be remodeling the outside and the tennis courts.
Nice.
Adding pickleball to the outside tennis courts. So yeah, we're
Very
definitely
extensive.
truly revamping and beautifying the community. Much needed and much excited about the opportunities that are going to present themselves after this.
Fantastic.
good.
Well, this might be a rough transition. Speaking of newness, so that
Right.
sort of slides into our topic today. and I'll ask you guys this question really quickly in terms of newness, but I'll get back to that. Did either of you play video games growing up? Anybody?
Yeah.
I had to fight over the controller with my brother. So I didn't have a lot of opportunities to play because he wouldn't allow me to play.
Okay. All right. Robert,
Yeah.
how about you?
I was the original Atari, going all the way back. So I can truly remember when the video games was nothing but a Pong, a little ball up and down the screen.
Pong, and you attached it to your
Yeah.
TV. Yes. And you would, it was like this little tennis ball.
Yeah,
Yes.
just exactly.
Oh my gosh.
We had that too.
I might be dating myself a little bit, but yeah.
Oh,
that's
maybe
my
just a
original
tad.
That's my original video game. I could truly remember how advanced like the Maddens have gotten now. I could truly remember. I
Oh,
still
my God.
have the video game, the handheld video game, was just nothing but little dots, red dots, and you
Oh,
just play the
wow.
game with your fingers like this.
Wow.
So yeah, I was a
Yeah,
I was
I
a
know
little
nothing
kid
about
that
that.
enjoyed.
Well, as you both know, the video game industry has really grown exponentially
Yeah.
over the
Yes.
last 30
Yeah.
years. And the Y
Yes.
is actually getting into esports. And so today we're going to talk about that and how esports is working out at the Y and how exciting this is. We have two incredible guests joining us today.
Yes, we
And
do.
so I'll do the liberty of introducing them. Jill
Excellent.
Moore and Kristel Tanzo. Welcome.
Welcome.
ladies.
Hi, thank you.
You're welcome. So Jill is the Group Vice President for the YMCA of Metro Atlanta. She is also the Executive Director of the Carl E. Sanders Y in Buckhead. And she has been with our Y since 2017. Prior to coming to our Y, she was the Association Director of Quality and Membership, and then the Executive Director of Camp Thunderbird. And this was all for the YMCA of Greater Charlotte. Prior to that, she worked in nonprofit and the for-profit sectors. Embedded in Jill's world since childhood has been a deep passion for STEAM as play. And having been raised to code and tinker with video games in the 1970s by her father, who was in the very first class of computer scientists for the U.S. government in the 60s, has driven her to create STEAM programming for kids for many years. On a personal note, Jill has been married to husband Joe for 22 years. They have two sons, Jordan, a college sophomore, and Joshua, a high school senior. Kristel Tanzo has been with the Carl E. Sanders Y since 2019 as the STEAM Lab Supervisor with an associate's degree in engineering and a bachelor's in broadcast and electronic communication. She's been teaching the values of STEAM education and digital citizenship for over 6 years. Recently, she earned the role of STEAM and Esports Coordinator after helping launch the esports program throughout the Y Association last year. A player of both traditional sports and video games since childhood, Kristel is developing the esports program with the mindset to create a safe and healthy environment in the video game space. Welcome to you both.
Yes, welcome, ladies.
Yeah,
Incredible
so good
bios.
to be here.
Incredible bios.
It's good to have you.
Absolutely.
We are truly excited about this, and it's kind of nostalgic, so having that conversation about the video games that we played. And I can honestly say that anything beyond Miss Pac-Man, Madden, or NBA, I can't do anything.
I'm with you. I was really good at Centipede. I could kill at Centipede.
I don't know these games, you guys.
It's a good game.
Right.
Jill, I would like to ask you the first question, and we are truly inspired to hear about your deep passion in STEAM as play. Tell us more about that and how it has shaped your overall philosophy, please.
I would love to, Robert, and I enjoy just even hearing the words together when someone else says STEAM as play. It's very energizing. So in my bio, there is a little bit of the context, but I'd like to elaborate on that because to understand my deeply embedded passion for bringing STEAM education to kids through play, I'd like to tell you these three things. One, my dad's mother, so my grandmother, who lived to be almost 100, preached that a child's job is play. And the adults around that child's responsibility were to set up the environment, no matter what it was. If it doesn't have to be elaborate. It could be, she lived out in the woods in Upper Michigan. It could be sticks and rocks and chickens and goats, all the things she had. But the job of the adult was to set the environment for play and let the child learn. And of course, guide the child. So that was drilled, play. Right. And then you heard that my dad was in the first class of computer scientist for the government and did that for 50 years before he retired. So still to date, codes in every language available. He's 85.
That's incredible.
In 1979, he brought home a Radio Shack TRS-80. It's a Tandy product, but Radio Shack sold it. And we started playing with it. He taught us how to code in BASIC. So that was the first language I knew how to code in. And he had us coding basic video games to play with. They were a little more rudimentary than Pong. but we still played. And then the third piece is the arts piece, right? The A in STEAM. It's why that piece is so important to me. My mom is a musician, still to date. I'm lucky enough to still have both my parents living, and we wrote and produced musicals together my entire life. Wow. And it was so amazing to use what my dad was bringing to the table with tinkering and playing with technology of the day, and then overlay our productions with current technology. I mean, I know you've seen the big video cameras we used to hold and called them camcorders, but it was amazing. And the things I learned and the relationships I built and the conversations that have been opened for me because I could speak the language across sectors around STEAM. I realized what that did for me. And as my life took the path of a youth development professional, I just got more and more fired up every day, and still do, to make sure that we're bringing STEAM to kids, especially in under-resourced schools and communities, through play. And that is it. That is my passion. I get up in the morning, and that's what drives me.
Well, you've been living STEAM before people said the word or the acronym STEAM. STEM started first, and then there was a real concerted effort by all kinds of people across the world to say, no, it's about art as well, and integrating those. So how exciting that you were doing that at an early age.
It's really palatable for children to learn science, technology, engineering, and math through the arts. And I find it especially in our girls. Our boys like the arts too, but sometimes our girls, or those who I identify as female in the STEAM lab, are they're more hesitant, tend to be perfectionists. And if we teach it through art, like we can teach, there are some Ozobots, some robots that we use that teach coding through color. And so the actual codes are markers. You use markers and certain patterns to tell the robot to take a certain path. So we have found that the arts will almost, it's not exactly tricking, but it's sort of like coercing someone to learn it. Again, this is STEAM through play, right? You give a child something they already like to play with and put STEAM with it.
Excellent.
All right. Well, Jill, thank you for sharing so much about STEAM, and I love hearing your passion about it as well. Now, as the director of the EA Ware Early Learning Center, I understand the importance of STEAM education. In fact, we have STEAM labs in our early learning centers, and we're introducing children to the fundamentals of STEAM. So this question is for Kristel. Kristel, could you describe what STEAM looks like from your perspective as the STEAM and Esports Coordinator?
Yeah, one of the things that I instill in anyone who comes into the STEAM lab with me, whether it be, elementary schoolers, middle schoolers, or even the counselors who are helping out, is that failure is okay. A lot of people from as young as 5 years old to as old as, 30, 40, 50, we expect ourselves to be perfectionists even though we haven't done it before. So even before we do anything, we try to embrace that failure is just another way for us to learn something. And so, one of my favorite things to say, well, it's not really my favorite things to say, but one of the things I kind of remind my students who, are stuck in their heads because they can't feel like they can do their project right. I just tell them, you know what a good project is? A good project is a finished project. It doesn't have to be a perfect project. It just needs to be completed. So that's part of it. Another thing that I like to teach to anyone who comes into the STEAM lab is responsibility and accountability. And it's not just with technology, it's how we interact with each other as well. Because the overall experience of us being in the lab is affected by our interactions with each other and ourselves and our technology or whatever materials we're using. Because we use a lot of things in the STEAM lab, not just technology. We also use like power tools like hot glue guns or drills or electric screwdrivers. So before the kids even get to hold any of that, we teach them responsibility. And with them actually learning how to be responsible with it, they have a better and positive experience and memory with the tools that they have experience with. And in the future, they are more comfortable with using newer materials or newer tools, newer projects, newer technology. And I'm only talking about like, character development and all that, but it's so important because even us as adults, a lot of us, when we go to college, we think, oh, I'm going to be an engineer because I don't have to talk to anyone. That's a big fat lie. You need to work with people.
That's right.
You need to work with people in order to get your engineering projects done. And the earlier that you develop those skills, the more successful you become as an adult. So a lot of the things that I teach in the lab is not just technical skill; it's character development, behavioral skills, responsibility, and I just strongly believe that when you get down to that level, especially with kids as young as kindergarten. My kindergartners know how to use a drill now. My kindergartners know how to use a hot glue gun. My kindergartners know how to use a 3D modeling system. All because before they even use all of that technology, they know how to be responsible with it.
Right.
Nice.
That communications background that you have is such a nice compliment as well, because I just loved how you explained all that. That was beautiful. Well, let's jump into a conversation around esports. So I have a son who grew up playing video games. We started with the Wii and we did Mario Kart. And then as he got older, he moved into Fortnite and NBA 2K and Madden, as Robert was referring to. But from the Y lens, Jill, help us understand, what does esports look like? Explain to us esports.
I would love to. So, people ask on a regular basis when they first hear it, especially our members who know us for the healthy living aspect of the YMCA organization, right? So before I jump right into esports, I think I want to remind everybody that we have 3 pillars, 3 focal areas that we stand on as an organization. Healthy living, which is the one we're probably best known for, youth development, and social responsibility. And so when this is the mathematician in me, I always say where those 3 focal areas intersect in a Venn diagram, right? So that cross sections, those are the programs that we love the most. Well, esports hits all 3 for a myriad of reasons, but at its core, the Y wants to be where youth are. Right? It's sort of like I said earlier, where I said, find something a child wants to play with and then add STEAM to it, add mathematics to it, add physics to it. Well, find what kids are doing and go there, which is what the Y has done with esports. So 76%, that's one of the stats that any stat you look at, it's going to say something close to this, but about 76% of all young people under the age of 18 are playing video games. And so, yes, the Y would be remiss as a world leader in youth development to ignore that stat. We want to be there and we want to teach the things Kristel mentioned, right? We want to be where we can instill our values, caring, honesty, respect, responsibility, teamwork, and then the 21st century learning skills like creativity and communication and conflict resolution. And here's the other thing that I want to add with our leagues, with the leagues and the tournaments that we have hosted in esports over this last year. We've had parents come to us, Kristel and me, in tears, because for their child, it was the first time that they had been able to be part of a team, because they didn't gravitate toward traditional sports. So this now, esports is the vehicle for that child to be able to build relationships with others and learn all of the same skills that you learn in a more traditional sports environment.
Excellent.
Well put.
Truly.
Well put.
Truly.
So, getting back to that initial question, because you really explained philosophically why the why got involved. What does it look like? Who are we working with? Like, did we seek out partners in this field? Maybe kind of provide an understanding of the lens behind the why of esports.
I would love to. And, as I talk about our partners, I think I'll just highlight what Kristel talked about earlier and the importance of helping children learn to build effective relationships, because that's how all partnerships are built. So our CEO, Lauren Kuntz, took me to a Rotary meeting about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago now, because we had already been talking about launching esports, and she had heard that Todd Harris, who is the CEO and founder of a company called Skillshot, which is sort of like, it's a media company for the esports world. Picture ESPN is to traditional sports what Skillshot is to esports. And so I went with Lauren to Rotary, heard Todd speak, started speaking with Todd afterward, who happened to be really good friends, unbeknownst to us, with the chair of the Metro Board, Kevin Greiner. And so that all just connected for us. Todd was excited about the Y's interest to bring esports both in a values-based lens, with a health and wellness lens, and to younger children. And so, because they're playing games anyway, why wouldn't we want to step in and help make sure they're safe and strong digital citizens? Right. And so we entered, actually with Todd's help and leadership, we entered into this non-monetary MOU, this agreement, just to help each other. So we helped Skillshot and Ghost Gaming, that's another one of Todd's company, it's a professional esports team. We helped them be able to influence in a positive way children younger through the Y, and they're helping us become esports experts. And so it's been an amazing partnership. Todd and Skillshot have made sure that our families and our players have gotten to go to professional esports events with front row seats. Like, we actually got to go to the World Semifinals this past year. It was spectacular. I've never been a part of something with that much energy ever. It was at State Farm Arena. We're also partnered with YUSA, right? YMCAs are playing esports across the U.S. Right. And we're partnered with a company called LeagueSpot, and LeagueSpot is software. Picture like our virtual gymnasium. It's the place where it's the software that helps our players be able to play against each other, right? With Kristel behind the curtain, pressing all the right buttons to make sure things sync up. And our players also play against players, especially in our time zone, but we play against YMCAs all over the United States. Isn't that fun?
That's so cool.
It's so cool.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you, Jill.
Kristel, we've touched on some of the responses that parents may have given. Jill spoke to that in terms of the parent coming to you in tears. And as she was speaking, I was sitting here thinking that, many kids are sometimes intimidated by math and science and just technology in general, outside of just the use of a cell phone or playing the video games. But what are some of the youth players saying about the experience so far? And if you can expound a little bit more as to what the parents are saying in their responses to you.
Yeah. The players actually learn about the same concepts that we do in the STEAM lab. They learn that failure is okay. They learn how to accept losses. That's one of the biggest things for kids, or not just kids, but anyone who's ever experienced any type of competitive play is learning how to accept losses, kind of with grace. And through that, they also learn leadership, teamwork. Basically, like I said earlier, what the kids in the STEAM lab learn while they're doing their projects. Essentially, video games are their project.
Nice.
Not only do they learn technical skills, like playing with, learning which button to push or the timing, deciding when to do what. They're using critical thinking. That, knowing what you need to do when requires critical thinking. Right. And when you're paired up with somebody who is stronger or weaker than you, you need to be a good leader. You need to be able to accept advice. You need to be able to learn how to give advice in a constructive way. And even though I do play video games, competitive play is not my strongest suit. So I actually let my players back in the fall season, I actually let them take the lead. I asked them, what do you guys want to work on? And then they tell me, I do my research, and then I tell them, hey, so here is what our game plan for next practice will look like. Does this sound good to you guys, or do you want something else? So the kids are part of the process, the decision-making process throughout the entire thing. During game day, I give them suggestions like, hey, maybe one of you should do this instead of, all three of you attacking the ball at the same time. They're not required to follow my advice. It's just I just give them ideas that I have, because ultimately at the end of the day, they're the ones with the controllers in their hands. Yeah. So I'm just there to help guide them into having productive and constructive conversations. And I'm just there to make sure that everyone is safe, everyone is on the right track in terms of making sure that they're focused, they keep their cool, because a lot of the times, especially when you realize there's a skill gap between your team and the team that you're playing against, it's very easy to lose your cool. And that's what esports coaches are there for. I'm not the only one. So that's the amazing part, is that, like what Jill said, thanks to League Spot and Skillshot, they gave me all of the tools to be able to guide anyone who comes through the esports program to have a positive experience and actually get character development skills on top of technical skills through our program. And the parents are actually quite grateful that they get to see their kids be a part of a team. They see firsthand, this is what my child has to actually do in a team. And because it's all virtual, especially for our youths, our 8 to 12-year-old age group, our parents are there to basically hold their kids' hands, to basically be their tech support, because I can't be their tech support because I'm in the STEAM lab, they're at their homes. So the only person that these kids can rely on are their parents. And so when the parents actually see how much effort is put into running an esports program, their world is changed, because they come into the program with, rightfully so, with some hesitations, with how are you going to make video games a positive experience? How are you going to make it, how are you going to make it a way that is productive for my child? Those are all very legitimate concerns, and we go over those. We hold parent info meetings very regularly, and we also hold technical support meetings before any tournament and any season starts. And they see how that actually helps affect their children become more tech savvy and more tech responsible.
Nice. I love the empowerment. I love the encouragement. One quick question. Do you find that what you're teaching, those character those character models that you're building, do you find that translates into their schoolwork?
I haven't actually been able to see that for sure. I do know that I do have them prioritize schoolwork. So last season when we had the teens play, I was very well aware that some of them had either midterms or finals or like final projects. And so I would tell them, do you think you would need this time to focus on your project, or do you need a vehicle to help you de-stress from it? And so they decide like, hey, I really need to work on this project, or I really need to study for this test, Miss Kristel. And I say, you know what? You know your schoolwork better than I do, so you can go, you know? I hope that they do, you know, develop, I hope that what we teach in our esports program does translate into schoolwork. However, I haven't been able to actually have any conclusive evidence to prove such yet, because we are still very new.
Right.
Last fall was our very first season.
Okay. So I'll just insert here, if I could, just really quickly. In preparing for today's podcast, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and one of them is Adam Grant's podcast called Rethinking. It's one of his latest podcasts, and he interviewed an educator named Ash Brandon, and the title of the episode was "The Surprising Effects of Video Games on Children and Their Learning." And so it'd be worth listening to for those listeners out there who want to learn more about the effects on academics or, the child's, the educational experience. So I found it really, really interesting and compelling, a lot of research about it. Look at that. Russ pulled it up on the screen, and so everybody can go find it.
Awesome.
It's called Rethinking, and I believe it's just a few episodes out of 2023. I think it's one of the last few. So, all right, I will hand it over to Serena. She's got the next question.
All right, ladies. So what about the skeptics who might say, isn't the why about health and fitness? Is there a wellness component to esports?
100%. And that's holistic wellness, which, so the why has always been about holistic wellness, spirit, mind, and body, whole person health. Mm-hmm. And we're very intentional about including all three aspects into our esports program, just like we would any of our youth development programs, frankly, any of our programs. And so intentionally, what that might look like are, you heard some of Kristel's language around checking in with young people and helping them think about that sort of life balance that so many adults even struggle with, right? And starting to help young people have some boundaries and prioritization, which we know is a part of our overall well-being. We also add very specific health and wellness, like from a physical side. And I'm going to have Kristel describe to you some of the things that she does with the team. Nice. But I'll go back and mention again that one of the reasons why Todd and Skillshot wanted to partner with the Y is because there is a great need to make sure in the esports world that there is a focus on holistic health, and very specifically on physical health. With 532 million viewers, right? Esports was bigger last year than Hollywood and music combined from a viewership. And a listenership. Can you believe that?
Wow. No
right.
way.
And so many people, plugging in as a viewer, but also as a player. It's really important that we find a way to work health and wellness into everything that we're doing. And it's what they're looking to the Y to do. Wow. Like the industry is looking to the Y to help drive physical and holistic health into esports and into gaming, into computer use from really early ages. So Kristel, will you talk about some of the really specific things that you've done with our teams?
So we actually do basic exercises before we do any play. So basic exercises being like, loosen up your muscles, loosen up your joints, make sure you do a couple squats. And I actually do it with them because they they probably don't really, they're less inclined to do it if they don't see the person telling them to do it themselves.
Right.
So I actually encourage them to, okay, now do the squat. Now go a little bit lower than last time, kind of challenge them a little bit. Yeah, I know, right? It's challenging for me too. I have to tell them like, ooh, that one made me lose my breath a little bit.
Nice.
But
Sounds like a YFIT class.
Exactly. Robert loved hearing this.
Right.
And I haven't been able to implement a lot of the curriculum provided by NASIF, which is the National Academic Scholastic Esports Federation, NASIF,
Okay.
NASEF. They actually provide curriculum for educators and coaches alike to implement wellness or career building skills along with their video gaming experience. And so with our teens, I actually did a wellness one where I right before midterms started for them, I had them write a list of what they could do for their self-care. So they had to do a list for their mind, they had to do a list for their body, and they had to they had to make a list for their soul. And I would tell them, all right, so over the weekend, do one for section, and then the following week I would ask them, all right guys, so who would like to share what they did to care for their mind this past weekend, or what did they do to care for their body this past weekend? And we actually have them share at least one from each section the week before. That way we can hold ourselves and each other accountable.
I want to hear some of them. Can you recall some of their responses?
Yes, one of them was sleep, and I was like, yes, sleep is very important, especially during age, right? Sleep, and then one of them actually put reading for their mind. They actually enjoyed reading as a hobby, so they put that as a stress reliever for them. And I told them, okay, so if that's one thing that you think you can do for to help take care of yourself, then you should do that. Read however long as you feel like you need to help yourself relax. Another person, I believe, surprisingly, none of them actually wrote video games as their thing. But I think it's because it's already a given. You're already coming to us to play video games, so it's already a given. Like it's an open secret, I guess, for them that you don't really need to tell your esports coach that you're going to play video games outside.
That's implied, right?
Right. I don't actually remember the others, but I think drinking tea for some reason. I guess they really liked herbal tea, so they liked drinking tea.
Excellent.
Power to them. And I was like, that's very interesting because usually, even teens don't really like, tea. So,
very sophisticated. I like it.
Yeah.
Allison, I have another stat that I'd like to share that I think would
do it. Bring it on.
Undergird this dialogue about holistic health, and was a stat that I read on a website called CloudWords. It had a lot of stats from 2022 for the esports and gaming world, and it said that 90% of people who play games of all ages in the U.S. say that they feel a great sense of joy and relief when they're playing video games. How great is that?
That makes so much sense to me because I used to really be perplexed when my son would bring all of his video equipment to a friend's house, and they'd set up in a basement and they'd all play together. I'm like, what are you doing? And it was the community. It was that joy that they had among being in the same room, but playing. And then if they couldn't get together, like during the pandemic, when we were all really under, quarantine and not being able to get out, that was his lifeline to connection. So I completely believe in that. Completely.
Wow.
So for our listeners who are hearing about the WISE program, how do they get involved in the esports program at the Y? And do they have to be members of the Y to get involved?
They don't have to be members of the Y. So excellent. we want to all, for a lot of people, programs are often an entry point into the Y. And this is no different.
Okay.
We want to remove all the barriers to young people being able to come and be a part of our esports program. They can be from anywhere, frankly. They can be from around Metro Atlanta, but because we're playing virtually, they can be anywhere. Now, this spring, we hope to launch a couple of live teams in addition to our virtual teams, and they would get involved. The easiest way is just to go to the YMCA of Metro Atlanta website and search esports.
Excellent. Thank you,
That's
Russ,
the
for
easiest
bringing that
way.
up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Is there a cost to it?
You know, there is a cost, and it depends on what it is. So as an example, we've been running one-off tournaments. So in between season, we run tournaments to keep our players engaged, but to also bring new players into the fold. It also gives us a chance. You heard Kristel talk about the technology sessions with the parents and players before the tournaments. It gives us a chance to coach our parents on how to get the technology all set up with their player. But those are $25 for members and $35 for someone who's not a member otherwise. That off the top of my head, we've tried to keep it very, very low, just enough to sort of cover the cost of the software, frankly. And
Understood.
then our league play is right now about $65-ish, $75 for the league. And that's 8 weeks. That's 8 weeks of one practice and one game night per week.
Okay. And Russ, thanks for bringing up the fact that the Y never turns anyone away. We offer financial assistance for all of our youth programs, for sure. Thank you.
And
awesome.
Thank you for saying that. Russ, thank you. Allison, thank you, because we did have in our last league, probably in the fall, 1 in every 4 or 1 in every 5 of our esports players were receiving financial assistance to be there. And of course, no one ever knows. That's all done very respectfully with parents.
Excellent.
It was awesome.
When the technical support meetings are actually included in the tournaments and in the leagues, so they don't have to pay extra for the technical support. And also parent info nights, which is usually about an hour long each time we run it, those are free. It's open invitation, whether you are a Y member or your friend is a Y member. There's no cost to joining that info session.
Okay. Thank you.
Very nice.
Nice. Well, ladies, we've gotten to a point in a show where we ask a very specific question. We love this point because it's an opportunity for you to share how you became connected to the Y. So that is the question. Please let us know how you became connected to the Y.
Kristel, would you like to go first?
I was actually going to invite you to go first.
I'll go. So my initial connection to the Y dates back to 1977. The YMCA of Greater Dayton, Ohio launched girls-only basketball leagues, which I had no idea as a 6-year-old child that was radical. I also didn't know that women hadn't been playing 5-on-5 basketball for very long. In fact, there were still at that time, as I understand it, some 6-on-6. The rules were different. The thought was that women couldn't play the 5-on-5 game, but the Y is socially radical. The Y stood up and said, yes, girls can play 5-on-5, and we're going to provide a league for girls to play. So my parents signed me up because I wanted to play every sport that I had the opportunity to play. And I remember this. I remember making my first layup and how it felt. It was not pretty. I was on the left side of the basket. I shot with my right hand from the left side.
All right.
I made it. Yes. And in that moment, I branded myself an athlete. And that shaped my entire life, right? I branded myself with a positive trait, a positive language something that other people think is positive as well. And that's my connection to the why. That's why I love the why. That's what we're trying to do in every person, whether it's an early learner or someone in our youth sports programs or a senior adult who's struggling with a new identity as a senior, right? We want them to brand themselves with positive language. And that's the gift of the why. And as I've moved through my career, I ended up working for the why years later. I got a job right out of college in Lakeland, Florida. So I moved from Ohio to Florida. I knew zero people. And I thought, where would I go if I want to know people? And I thought, I bet there's a why. I bet there's a why. And I found the why, and I asked them if they needed someone to help coach youth sports or work at the front desk. And so I worked Monday to Friday in corporate America. And then I worked on Saturday and Sunday. I opened and closed the Y every Saturday and every Sunday for several years. And it never felt overwhelming. It never felt overwhelming because the Y connection was just my being social with the community. It absolutely filled my cup. And then, of course, as the Y found out that I had some skills I like to use. I ended up launching a community choir in Lakeland for a youth community choir. I ended up starting a speakers bureau. Like, we did all kind of things. Of
course you did, Jill. Of course you did.
So the why is a catalyst. So this is my love for the why. My deep love for the why is that if you bring your skill, like what's positive about you, what you love about you, and you bring that to the why with a willingness to put it out into the community, you can do it. You can just bring your authentic you to be part of this movement in brilliant ways. And it's such a great way to help give any life meaning or more meaning. And it's sort of without fail, wherever you go, that's what the why is for every community.
That is so true. Robert and Zarina, we wouldn't have this podcast if we didn't come up with the idea and say, let's try it. Yeah. And Lauren, our CEO, said, yes, let's do it. So couldn't agree more, Jill.
It has been amazing.
Story.
Absolutely. It really
and
has.
I tell you what, Jill, you said plenty of skills. Miss Jill has some dance skills. And when I first met you did a dance off with another colleague. So I would like to challenge you, Miss Jill, at the end of our podcast with a little dance off.
Oh, yes.
I'm in. I am in. Wow, that's a bonus plan.
Wow, totally. And I wonder, I don't want to challenge, our producer, but I wonder if Russ can pull up some music so we have a beat to move to so we can all move. Anyway, so we'll get to that. I like
we all can dance off.
Not putting you on the spot at all. I love it. Kristel, what about your why story?
So I not recently, but shortly before I found the job posting for, the STEAM lab supervisor, I had actually just moved to Atlanta. And I noticed that the Y that I'm in right now is only about 10 minutes away from where I lived. And so I kind of just passed it by because I was thinking, oh, maybe there's somebody a little bit more qualified than me. But when I really thought about it and a week passed by, the job posting was still there. And when I really thought about it, who has the skill set as unique as mine, where I both learned how to use 3D modeling systems and learned how to teach it at a low level. And also, I have a communications major. So not just any type of communications, but also broadcast communication. And when I saw the technology that, the STEAM lab has, digital citizenship was definitely a need to teach as well. Wow. But in terms of esports, it was a little bit more unique because earlier, like, in my bio, I've been playing video games since childhood, but the reason why it has such a close hold to my heart is because I was actually born in another country, and by the time that I came to the US, I was proficient in English, but my reading skills and colloquial language was not that great. And guess how I learned how to read English better and realize that there's a difference between talking to kids versus talking to adults, playing Pokemon. That is how I learned how to speak English.
Nice.
Okay.
And yeah, so when Jill told me like, hey, I think I really want to run an esports program, and I think you might be the good person to help me with that. And I said for a second, like, Jill, I'm a little bit hesitant because, there's a lot of stereotypes in esports, and she let me sit on it. And I realized, the Y would be a great platform to change those stereotypes. So I continued, doing my trainings that League Spot and Skill Shop provided for me. And now I'm even more passionate with teaching what we teach in the STEAM lab and in the esports program.
Excellent.
Gosh, we're so grateful that you said yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is for you is for you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
What is for you is for you.
The stars truly aligned for Jill and I to launch this program.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You all will appreciate this too, right? Because this is connection to the Y, connection to esports, connection to the community. But Kristel and I, what an interesting pair we are, right? Kristel is a millennial. I am a Gen X. We have very diverse backgrounds, but together, as we have forged this esports path into 8 to 12-year-olds, right? We're working with teens as well, but very few people are running formal esports with 8 to 12-year-olds. Kristel and I have experienced lots of things together this past year that we had neither one ever done before. And I feel like that's just like the Y too, right? Just providing opportunity to try new things, no matter what age a person is.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. So I do want to value your time. We are running out of time, so we do need to wrap things up. Can we see some dance moves before we say goodbye?
Absolutely, yes, because Jill is an amazing dancer, but I think we can take her. You guys ready?
She's warming up.
Look at
She's warming up.
Oh my God, I love it.
Staying alive.
One last thing I'll share about Jill. She is just jamming. For those folks that are listening, she's jamming. She is one, I want to make sure I get this right, in your age class, and I love how you were like, yep, we're Gen X and we're proud of it, this Olympic award for your fitness. So could you just share really quickly what that was? I mean, you had the gold medal, you went down to Florida and you won.
Oh, wow.
So you are all about movement. I
have a Florida State Senior Olympic gold medal in a 5K power walk. I have Georgia State gold medal in a 1 mile race walk in the sprint. And then I also got a gold medal in the state level in singles pickleball. That was all in September. So I get to go to nationals this coming summer in Pittsburgh.
Oh my God. We're going to be having you back on this podcast to talk about that. That is fabulous.
Yes.
Well, we really, really appreciate this conversation. This was so much fun and so enlightening.
So much fun. Yep. Thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you.
There she goes. There you go. Fantastic.
Thank you for listening to the Y Podcast. To continue the conversation or to find your closest Y, please connect with us at ymcaatlanta.org and sign up for our newsletter, Healthy Together.
Thank you.